Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Natrona County Parks Board and Advisory Board to order. Today's Thursday, March 14th. Can we have a roll call, please?
Bob Hill, present.
Jim Miller, present.
Doug Irvin, present.
Cordell Wistison, present.
Crystal Bratvold, present.
Michael Brown, present.
David Norris here.
And we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the February minutes. Do we have a motion with regards to that?
I move that we accept the minutes of the February meeting as read.
Do we have a second?
I second.
Okay, we'll flag those as approved. Next item up is the reports from our park director.
Yeah, first I want to let everybody know that's trying to watch this. We're having some technical difficulty with the video feed, so hopefully you're seeing the sign on the YouTube that this will be sound only for this evening. With that, I'll move straight into the mountain update. Grooming, we got some snow today, so we did some grooming today. We'll finish it up tomorrow now that the road's open. We plan on ending grooming on March 28th, which is a Thursday. Good Friday is a county holiday, and then Easter Sunday. So at this time, we don't plan on grooming for that last weekend due to the holidays. With that, the Casper Mountain Trail Center, the construction of that, the contractor is taking over the site April 1st, which follows that weekend. So the gates to the lodge parking area will be closed, and that site will be not open for the public during the construction phase, which will last probably until the end of December, early January.
Are we gonna have some signs posted to that effect, just so the
Yeah, we're gonna
public
try and
is
get.
aware?
Yeah, we're gonna try and get some signs up, but it'll be pretty obvious too. And the contractor wasn't clear if they were fencing the entire site or not, but at least the trail accesses, those will be posted and cordoned off, whether the contractor does it or County Parks does it.
You communicate that on website also?
Yeah, we have a current posting up in the news. I think it's on the web. I know it's on the homepage of the county website. There's an article about 2024, but we'll get some updates on the lodge as we get going. So following that, camping on Casper Mountain will be closed for the 2024 season. That is due to the road construction happening as well as the lodge construction. Parking will be limited throughout Bear Trap and Skunk Hollow, and obviously the lodge parking. The county staff will be working on sites within Bear Trap to start with, trying to improve those sites while the campgrounds are closed. Day use is still available on the mountain. However, camping's closed for a few reasons. Traffic control coming in and out of the campgrounds, so you may not have access to those areas at times, if at all. We're still waiting on the contractor to determine that. So day use is available, but parking's gonna be very limited. Skunk Hollow parking lot will be closed at times due to construction of stormwater implementation and traffic control. There's traffic patterns planned for Struby Loop to alternate one-way traffic there with probably a pilot car or a light or something. So all those sites will be closed. And then Bear Trap parking is probably going to be, a lot of it, if not all, be utilized by the road contractor for materials and equipment. staging those, so there may not be any parking there as well.
Do we know when that road construction is going to start?
We do not yet. I've been in contact with the Road and Bridge on this. I keep in contact with them, but, there will be a public meeting when that happens, but they have not heard from the contractor, and this is a federal highway project, so Road and Bridge is not the managing agent for it, I guess. You know, they have input and things, but, so they haven't received the information yet. As soon as they do, we'll get that out to the public, and I'll help facilitate that.
And have we put a preliminary notice on our webpage about, or the reservations page or other places?
Yeah, the reservations have been blocked out. There's notice on there. There's information on the overall plan for the mountain.
Good.
With, you know, bullet points out there as to, you know, impacts
It
on
was
it.
posted on the 27th of February, and it's very easy to find, and it is very specific, and it clearly states what areas will be impacted. And like, for instance, with Bear Trap, it says parking may be greatly impacted or closed depending on the contractor's needs. So if I can find it, anybody can find it.
Great. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey,
So they'll
Michael,
traffic will probably come up the backside though.
What's that?
Traffic will probably come up the backside.
Some of it
Circle
at
Drive.
times, it'll depend on when the contractor's starting at what side, because this project goes all the way down to the intersection from Muddy Mountain, and then the BLM also has
Extension.
plans for construction up to their areas as well.
Have we got any fees that are associated with day use?
No, not in the summer.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that we didn't have, that people understood that if they did go up there, that they wouldn't have to have, they wouldn't be required to pay anything, you know, if
Yeah.
they did go up there. So it's just more for information purposes than anything else, so that, because of all the congestion and everything else that.
Yep, there's no day use fees within the county parks at this time, so those won't be implemented. But it'll be a very busy season up there.
Because you're putting if I saw on the website or somewhere that you're going to be putting out a bid for the East Shelter also this summer.
Yes, that's actually my next line
Oh,
item.
I'm sorry,
No, that's fine.
I should read.
That works into it. So I've been in touch with engineers. We are working on getting that advertisement for bid out. Hopefully it'll go out in a week or two. So that'll be an additional construction project going on in Bear Trap, this summer is what we're hoping for. So, once I get some more information as to when that's being advertised, I'll let you guys know. So are there any more questions on the mountain?
Mr. Chairman, Michael, just a quick question. So we'll have day use available up there, and so are there going to be hours? What?
So, no, we don't know when the contractor's working. A lot of times on these federal highway type projects, they'll work, you know, multiple days and then take a day off. So it may not be an 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. They may work, you know, 6 to 6 for 14 days on and then 2 off or whatever. That's what we're waiting on the contractor for, is to find that. And then, I don't have a daily schedule for the lodge, you know, so, but I can foresee them, you know, possibly taking advantage of the weather and the short season and having some Saturdays and things. So, but traffic can go up and down the mountain. It will not be closed. There will be delays. There could be long delays to get, but I think the contractor will be working, you know, trying to make sure people that have to come down for work can get down, and at the end of the day, they can get up. So, that's the logistics that we're waiting to figure out all the details, but access will not be denied. It just may be limited and
Mostly in impacts of parking in the Bear Trap area.
yes.
Is there going to be any other construction going on up there beside the road construction and the shelter possibly in lodge and campgrounds?
Not that I'm aware of. I don't think Hogadon has any projects. I don't know about private cabin owners or property owners. I don't know if they have any of that.
I don't know if
haven't heard
Rob, Biathlon venue had anything going on up there.
Not
or-
that I've heard of, so no.
Or even CWTA if they had something going on.
So CWTA and county parks are gonna try and facilitate, doing some of the work for the, summer trail master plan that was adopted and getting some of that trail work. I have read in places, and I think I talked with somebody with Fatfish. Their plan is to forego any races up there, because of the conflict and the parking. But they're planning on taking their group as volunteers to help CWTA do some of the trail improvements. So that'll be going on in the background too. So basically, there's not a whole lot. There's gonna be a lot of things going on. I mean, Crimson Dawn will still have their summer solstice event, as far as I know. Bear Trap Music Festival will not be held on Casper Mountain this year. Haven't heard definite where it's at, but I understand, I think Washington Park's a primary location that they may have, so that'll be between the city and Town Square Media. So yeah, there's gonna be a lot going on the mountain. And, but it's good. Let's get it all banged out in one summer, and then, we can go back to utilizing the mountain next year.
Okay, I guess when we get community input, we can talk to Austin on communication on that, so.
Okay. So the lakes, Alcova water is scheduled as usual to be turned on, April 15th, pending the weather. Hopefully we won't have any super cold snaps. We just went through a cleaning of the fresh water tank that supplies the water, out there. So that's being done. The Alcova lot rents for the cabins and the trailers and the clubs, those invoices will be mailed out early April. Rents are due May 19th. And at this point, I'm to the point where exceptions and extensions will no longer be accepted. We've had I've been here 3 summers now, going through this process. And the first summer, we kind of flexed on it because the permits didn't go out till late. The second summer went really well, and last summer, we had to request that payment several times. And so under the lot permits, it clearly states when it's due, the year before, the approximate amount. So if we are not receiving payments on May 19th, I'm going to refer that to legal, to follow up on collections or whatever manner. And I'll have discussions with Board of County Commissioners on this, but there's no reason that you can't pay your lot rent on time. So it sounds a little crass, but it takes extra time and effort for us to pursue that, send out additional follow-up invoices, try to contact them via phone. And, there's been medical issues. I've been out of town. I'm going through a divorce. I didn't get the invoice. I didn't know it was due. The Parks Department used to let me pay it in September. So, lots of excuses, but I feel like it's a privilege to have those sites. You also need to pay for that privilege.
I guess you'll put that also on the web.
Yeah, we'll remind everybody. And we send these out in excess of 30 days. Normally an invoice has 30 days to pay, but we send them out in the 45-day range. So
What is the repercussion if they don't?
So within the lot permits, we can do a breach of permit, we can do a penalty, and the first offense in the penalties is up to $1,000 that, we can assess, but, I will turn that type of stuff over to legal to determine. That's a little above and beyond what I'm willing to deal with, so. So I sent the board the latest final draft of proposed revisions for the Parks Rules revisions, and I have included in the package here a Parks Rules summary that provides every section and what I'm proposing there. If you want, we can go through these in detail, every item, one more time, or the chairman can decide how you'd like to proceed with this matter.
Has the board had the opportunity to review the changes that Michael sent out?
Yes.
Okay, then I would suggest we step through and ask if anybody has any comments on each section. And that way we can skip over everything that nobody has questions. Does that sound okay?
I do
Okay.
have one question.
Yep.
I'm so sorry. Under section 20, that was the Rotary parking. Under section E, part 3, add approval for this parking may be provided by,
No.
no,
So I
So
have my
sorry.
rules in front of me here.
that was the one thing I couldn't
I
remember.
quickly summarized this at about 4 this afternoon. So section 20A is reference to Rotary Park.
Okay,
So there was talk about removing due to winter season,
Yes.
removing
Right.
5 a.m. to 10 p.m. and do sunrise until
Thank you.
sunset. And then it didn't make any sense to me that additional uses or times may be allowed by board issue permit or trail use pass for Rotary Park. We don't have a trail use pass, so I wanted to remove that. The
section E.
section E refers to Sandy Beach.
Oh,
So at Sandy Beach, there's an access road that goes down by the irrigation diversion structure for the Kendrick Canal. And that's for loading, unloading zone, or for the Bureau Rec to manage that. And so it states in there that this area is reserved for vehicle loading and unloading only. County, state, and federal vehicles conducting official business are exempt. What I wanted to add there was approval for this parking area may be provided by the board for certain training activities. That refers to diving. So, there are people in this community that do dive training for rescue diving. They are not necessarily directly affiliated with the sheriff's office. They travel around the state. And so last year they asked if they could park their vehicles there. They left somebody to man the vehicles at the time while they were doing their dive training in that area. And so I wrote them basically a written permit allowing them to do that. So that was provided with them. And I just wanted to have that added to these rules.
thank you.
Okay, let's back up and just step through each section and see if anybody has any comments on section 3. Any comments? Section 4, 7, 10, 11, 12, 15, 16.
16B, can you tell me what that is a little more?
Okay, yeah, so section 16B currently reads that digging, so it's preservation of public property is section 16. Digging, excavating, or the use of any mineral or metal detecting devices at historic or archaeological site is prohibited except for official use. So it restricted it to historic or archaeological sites. So a lot of those aren't defined. The Bureau Rec does not allow digging on their property, which we manage. So that's a significant area. And so I wanted to change that to any county park, except for official use. So that's where I kind of came up with that verbiage, and the reason why is the Bureau Rec restricts it already. And, a lot of people want to metal detect, which is great. But with metal detecting, it's inherent that you will dig a hole. And so then, somebody goes to Bear Trap and goes metal detecting and they pothole 25 sites and they don't backfill it, or you backfill it and then it settles and you still have a hole. So, I just felt like it needed to be clarified and cover the entire county park system.
Any other questions or comments on section 16? Okay. 17.
So 17, I just want to discuss that a little bit because it has to do with firearms and Second Amendments and things. The way it read before is no person shall possess a firearm or other projectile device, including an air gun or bow and arrow, unless in full compliance with state law. So basically, with the Second Amendment and our right to carry in this state, it kind of, it's like,
Double negative.
yeah, why can you not possess the firearm as long as it's lawful? But basically, we want to say no person shall discharge a firearm, so you can't, unless in full compliance with Wyoming state law. So there's no reason to discharge a firearm, but there's no reason to not be able to possess it while you're camping or anything like that. So I discussed this one with the sheriff's office and they kind of brought this up a little bit that, where we're at. So unless somebody has a concern with it.
And the sheriff's office, just to clarify, they were in agreement with the wording change?
Yes. And I mean, item 3 says, no person shall use or display any type of weapon in a threatening manner. So, if somebody's doing that, that's covered under there. Plus that's covered under state statutes.
Yeah. So no need to repeat ourselves when we've got it
Right.
covered at the state level. Section 18, any questions or comments? Section 20, we have already discussed. Is there any further? Section 22, I had one comment where, for H, I agree with the increase in the flexibility for us to, in the future, establish some trails for dog use in the winter. I think we still need a second part to that sentence to clarify what the default usage is in the absence of such designation. That's just my personal opinion. Anyone else have any comments on section 22?
So forgive me. We're not removing no domestic animals or pets are allowed on the winter multi-use trails.
No,
We're adding an
We're
exception to
adding the
that,
exception to that. Okay.
but the way that, with just the replacement
Board
of
may
the second
designate certain
sentence,
winter multi-use trails for dogs to be allowed. These trails will be marked accordingly.
when I read that, then it's not clear that this policy, this default or general practice without exception is that no domestic animals or pets are permitted. So that's just the way I read it.
No domestic animals or pets are allowed on the winter
So-
multi-use trails. The board
So
may
what I would
designate
suggest
certain-
is we still remove the no domestic animals or pets are allowed on the multi-use winter trails. We add in addition to what I stated below is to add the statement in the absence of clear signage or markings on a county approved map. Animals are not allowed on the
Yeah,
trails,
something of
That
on the
makes
winter
sense.
trails.
that would remove any ambiguity, I think.
And this isn't to say that this is gonna be allowed tomorrow or when these are adopted. This just provides the Parks Board and the Parks Director
The opportunity.
the
in the
opportunity to do this. So,
And these have all gone through legal?
not yet.
Okay.
I want to get the Parks Board, recommendation
A
to the
clean
county
copy that passed
commissioners,
legal.
and then I
Gotcha.
will
And
send
the
this
BOCC.
to legal,
Okay.
so.
Any other general comments?
I
whether-
just wanted to bring up one, since Commissioner North is here, and it has to do with section 20, with the, rifle range on County Road 306. It says hunting's prohibited within the rifle range, alcohol is prohibited at the rifle range, and camping is not permitted. That's what's current. And then I wanted to add that a range safety officer is required present during use of that facility. I added that to the biathlon club as well.
We've already got that in the agreement. So it doesn't need to be in here. That's in the use agreement that it has.
Right.
That you have to have someone there so it doesn't.
I just thought it might be a good way to state, you know, it's in the, there's one document with the biathlon club that has it too, but I just thought overall public, this is just an additional clarification that you can't just go out to this rifle range.
Well, it's an unmanned range, so, and it's locked up, so.
Right.
So there is a little bit of difference between that and the biathlon, because you have to sign in, and everybody is not allowed to be in there all the time. It's only open when members are there, and all members are range officers. So it doesn't have to say range safety officer, but range officer. So that's one of the differences. And that's more of a semantics difference, but a range safety officer is generally something that's classified where you can go to any range and you can actually work with that certification, whereas a range officer is somebody that is associated with that specific location and only that location, and anybody can do that with the appropriate training. So that's it's kind of a semantics type thing.
Right.
And everybody that's out there, and that is part of our bylaws that are all listed on the website, as well as in the use agreement. So it's duplication of effort, I guess, is what it amounts to. I don't know if you really need to do that, because everything is specific to that range already.
So on that note, what about the ads to the biathlon range?
They are required to have a range safety officer up there, because that's something that you're supervising a little, it's a different group.
Okay.
It's not the same thing. And so,
So we should add that
yeah,
to them.
for the biathlon club, that should be inclusive, is if they have shooting activities going on there, that there needs to be a range safety officer there.
And it's
then-
not open to the public.
Huh?
It's not open to the public unless
Right.
there's a range supervisor or unless they're informed. Am I correct on that?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah, not for
Yeah,
shooting.
public
for
can't just
shooting
go use it.
activities.
Right.
Yeah,
Um,
so,
and then from what I could read on the biathlon club, they are limited to 22 caliber rimfire rifles on that range or less.
yeah, that's what they shoot.
Right. You can't just go
The-
take your 30-06 out to that range.
Right, that's not designed for that at all.
Yeah.
The only thing that I could see where if you limit it to 22 caliber rimfire or less, there are a lot of air gun matches that they're shooting bigger calibers than that. They're semi-automatic. They're activated off CO2
Right.
cartridges or something like that, and a lot of those are 25 and 30 caliber. They're bigger because the bullets weighs a lot less. So that's the only thing that I could see that being a change. But I'm not saying that that's necessarily what they're going to do. But if you're practicing or doing something, that may be something they're doing in the future.
I was thinking their bylaws had stated that it's only required to have a 22
Yeah.
up there and nothing bigger.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I put 22 rimfire because, you know, a 223 is really like a 22.
Right.
You know, and you can get some higher, with the rimfire, it limits the amount of velocity, so. I just wanted to discuss those a little bit before we, approve these or recommend these, however you guys want to call it, before they go to the commission to see if maybe I'm overreaching here on these.
I would be more inclined for up there to say something that only firearms that are provided within the bylaws are allowed to be utilized on the range, because that covers anything, any changes or anything else that's covered. And it doesn't limit you. It doesn't, we aren't the limiting factor. The bylaws are the limiting factors. that way, so-
Eliminates a dual point of maintenance should
So,
they change.
Yeah.
okay, so I'll rewrite that as only firearms as approved by governing CMBC documents. Because there's more than just their bylaws. They have a range document as well and other things,
Yep.
so. I'll leave the range safety officer in that one. On the rifle range County 306, you guys good with removing the range officer out of that one?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. So just a couple of changes for section 20 and section 22.
Any other board comments or questions on the rules and regulations?
I was just looking at section 22B, as you said, I wonder if you could just say these trails will be marked accordingly as an exception. Did that cover anything? So good.
I think it's a replacement of the no domestic animals. So I think Michael's going to wordsmith that a little bit to make it clear what the default policy is and that we may have exceptions in the future that are marked in a certain fashion.
In 20, does that take care of the second half stuff?
We don't have stuck and off is,
Yeah,
that's a city.
That's a city, so
That's a
yeah, we
city,
don't have
that's
to
not a
deal with that
county
one, yeah.
range.
Any other board comments or questions? I will entertain motions at this time. Should we want to make a motion to recommend these changes to the BOCC?
I'd like to make a recommendation that Michael make those corrections that we just stated and then send them on to the OCC.
Do we have a second?
And just to clear, well, I'll let you guys finish your motion.
And the motion carries. Michael, you had some further
Yeah,
comments?
so, you guys recommended these move to the BOCC. That process will be, these are presented to county legal for review, and then in partnership with county legal, we will proceed to present them to the Board of County Commissioners, at which point, we'll start the process of public advertisement and that process.
And legal's not behind anymore, right? Sorry.
I will schedule with legal to get this process moving.
Gotcha.
Okay. And I think we have one final item on the agenda, Michael, with regards to camping fee increases.
Yes, and I've provided two attachments on the camping fees. The simplified camping fee increase is what, if recommended by this body to present to the county commissioners, would be what I propose being attached to a resolution that they would adopt if there's no changes to it. And what this is we simplified this because this is basically what it costs you out of pocket for one night of stay in one of our campgrounds. So for example, the envelope camping, the first come, first serve, where you put your cash or check in an envelope, currently that is $12. And that $12 includes sales tax and lodging tax as required by the state. The proposed increase is to $15. And we made sure that was an even number because we don't want to be collecting $14.85. For one, it's an accounting nightmare on my end with my staff, but nobody wants to do the math of 3 nights at $14.85 and then collect enough change to put in there. So, the reservation camping, we did the same percentage, which is on the second sheet. I believe the percentages are shown there. And with the convenience fees added into everything on top of the sales tax and lodging tax, that goes up to $15.75. So it's on par. It's a little bit more. The rest of them, except for Crimson Dawn and our area use applications, those we adjusted a little bit to make them even dollars because Crimson Dawn fees a lot of times are paid in cash for reservations there, as well as our area use fees for renting out a space or holding an event. So we tried to make that a little easier. Everything else is within our reservation system. It's on a card, it's digital. So, you know, trying to flatten those rates to an even dollar didn't really make any sense. So that's that one sheet, the short sheet's what I'm proposing, presenting to the commissioners. The other one has more detail and explanation as to the breakdown as to what the increases are for. I don't have accurate numbers as to if this is going to cover 100% of the costs of operations of a campsite, but it's close.
Michael, when was the last rate increase?
2012.
Okay.
And that was when I looked at those, they were about 30% increase.
Okay.
And I can't remember the time before that, but it went from, camping went from $7 to $10.
Have we ever considered having non-resident and resident different prices?
We've had internal discussions about that. The problem is the land we manage at the lakes is federal property. And you can't do that on federal land. So we could do that on the mountain, but we couldn't do it for our facilities on federal property.
So Glendale being a state, they charge you differently.
Well, I guess, maybe I'm misunderstanding that because the Bureau of Rec owns that property. The state manages it as a state park. So I don't know if the state actually owns all the surface that the facilities are on, or if it's still a management agreement like we have with Bureau of Rec. Because I know Keyhole is still Bureau of Rec ownership. But I really haven't dove into what Glendale is. So.
Yeah,
I
I
know
think-
that people are concerned about non-residents taking up all the camping and whatnot and trying to implement that in a manner. But when you look at our reservation system and the customers that we have in it and the reservations, it's well over 80% that are local on our campsites.
So right now, it's not a
Yeah,
noted problem.
correct.
It's a theoretical problem.
Yeah, it's an emotional problem is what it is.
Yeah.
But when I look at it, so you've got like a $50 current on a number of these, and you propose moving to 62. So that's a 24% increase, right? So
Right.
when I look at an inflation calculator, that increase would be to 68.45. So I think it's coming in under. Just
Yeah,
Just for-
you are correct. Couple reasons we didn't go that high is trying to manage the potential outcry that we're gonna have to deal with.
Sure.
And so, like I said, these haven't been adjusted in 12 years. I don't plan on waiting another 12 years to adjust them. I think this should be on a 2 to 4 year adjustment plan. And so we can revisit that. Maybe inflation will go down, maybe some of the costs will go down, and we can decide we're good staying here, or we need to do a 10% increase or whatever to match that. But I didn't want to overwhelm
sure.
the public with a massive increase.
Sure. I was just kind of making the comment. I think it's reasonable. It seems like a fair number to come in at because It's not
It's
exorbitant.
below the inflation rate.
And the public has mentioned, I've seen them mention, well, we increased it 2 years ago, which we did because the state required us to collect sales tax and lodging tax. And so
That's the misconception.
we had to carry that over. Now, that's all included in this as well, so.
Any other board comments or questions on the fee rates?
Not related to the fees, but it's related to the cash boxes. In the news recently, there was an individual that was caught stealing boxes. Were any of them the county boxes that were ruined or stolen?
Not that I'm aware of. So, and that is a risk, and that's why a long-term plan with parks is to move everything into the reservation system so that cash boxes aren't broken into and stolen. It eliminates the risk of staff, you know, that urge and things like that. Not to say that any of the staff has done that or will do it, but it is a potential risk. So, also, you know, handling that kind of money, especially on the 4th of July, there's a lot of money. So somebody breaking into our shop, there's a risk of that safe being broken into or stolen. So,
The one,
that's the way the world is going, is away from cash. I prefer cash in my pocket, but I also do have a card to charge things to if I have to, so.
the one comment I would make about that is, I know there's a lot of chatter about those last minute things. And if it goes all reservation, there will be no ability for a family on a Thursday to decide to go camping on Friday.
Well, that's not true because they could make that reservation that same day. If there's a spot available.
If there's a spot
And
available.
there are significant numbers of spots available on most weekends in the summer.
But I know that was a lot of the back and forth chatter when you follow the armchair.
Right.
Yes, but it's a topic that has been approached in multiple
Oh, yes.
systems in different ways. The Tetons in Yellowstone have gone to complete reservation systems as of 2 years ago or 1 year ago. And that was a big change, but I think it's something to be evaluated not only in terms of convenience for the general public, but also the supportability of our staff and the costs that they incur, especially since we don't have the budget the Park Service has. So I think that's the best way for us to strike a balance at this time. Any other board comments or questions on the fee rates? Michael, I believe you're looking for us to recommend this to the BOCC as well.
Yes.
Do we have any motions with regards to recommending the fee changes as presented to the BOCC? Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion carries. And that closes out our official business.
I
Michael,
do have
you-
one more item. We did this last year. Starting April 1st, parks will turn off the reservation system. So you will not be able to make a reservation. This will occur about 7 a.m. on the 1st of April. The system will not be turned back on until April 9th, approximately at 5:15 in the evening. And the Parks Department will have the phones available for help for about 30 minutes after we turn that on, for anybody that needs assistance. Last year we did this, and this is with the plans of the 4th of July.
Yep.
So what this does is it prevents, you know, somebody making a reservation one night and missing out on the next night, and then getting to the next night and they have to switch sites, and nobody wants to do that. So this
our
allows
current
you to block
reservation-
out your entire vacation over the 4th of July in one spot. Last year we did it at noon. We got some complaints that, well, I have to work, I can't do it. You know, you weren't available to help because I was blocked out and whatnot. So this is the best way, and this is probably gonna evolve over the next few years. But this is the best way for the Parks Department to handle everybody getting a fair shot at making their reservations. you know, before the reservation system, people stood in line in January outside the door to reserve their full hookup site for the 4th of July. We no longer do that, obviously, but this is the plan, and I wanted to bring it up tonight because we won't have a meeting before that, but that's being posted on the website, on the reservation site, and so everybody will be aware of it, starting probably early next week. That's
And
gonna-
that was April 9th at 5:15 PM is when it
Yes,
opens?
is when we'll turn the system back on, and I'll have some staff available if anybody needs help, for about 30 minutes, so we're gonna keep our hours open, keep a few of the phones open so that we can assist where we need to.
Any questions or comments for Michael? Okay, then we'll move on to public comment. Austin.
Let me go. There we go. All right. Whoa. There we go. Thanks for letting me speak tonight. I've got some updates for you. I did only print out 5 of these, which I don't know why. I am going to give one to. Okay. Well, you'll be getting one in email. So this was on request from Michael Brown on our strategic plan to be adjusted for Natrona County specific project. You guys can review that at your leisure. I'm not going to really be going over a lot of that. That's basically going to be what we're our grand plan for this summer is. Just to give you a quick trail update, though, as far as our winter stuff's going on, trail signs, we got a pretty good reaction to a lot of the trail signs that I presented last time. We went ahead and got some of those more of the homemade style signs up, those information signs, fixed the issues with those, obviously. So we got some really good feedback on that, and then I've collaborated with Vice Chairman Miller as far as getting our permanent signage done, and then figuring out what we're going to do for the future as far as our seasonal signage. To be able to educate the public, right, on the trail use. You know, fat bikes and hikers are trashing the trails. I mean, there's no 2 ways about that. I mean, they're walking across the set tracks, and it's creating some issues in some areas. So we're trying to get people navigated in the correct areas and corridors. And those signs have helped because they actually are wayfinding signs as well, to be able to tell people where they're at and how far they have to go before they get to the next trailhead and familiar spaces. Winter can be confusing up there. You get lost pretty easy. So like I say, those are turning out pretty well with pretty positive feedback on those. Our grooming efforts are going to pretty much match what the county's grooming efforts are, as we are partners in this. I did a post on social media stating that we were going to reevaluate what the trail conditions were going to be at the 1st of April. We don't really like grooming a whole lot past the 1st of April because it continues that pack on the trails. It doesn't let it melt off as fast, and it creates some a longer time to be able to get those other summer users or those shoulder season users on the trails. So we're going to be addressing those. If there's not a whole lot of snow, obviously we're going to stop. The other thing that's going on up there, so I don't know if any of you are familiar with Winter Adventure Day that the Bureau of Land Management, CWTA, and a lot of other partners are together on over at the biathlon area. That is scheduled for April 6th this year. It's going to be a Saturday, 9:30 to 2. Hopefully there's going to be no road construction at that time or anything that's going to impede traffic up there other than, possibly weather. But that is going on up there, so that is going to be after the grooming season. Rob Rosser is going to be grooming if we have snow for that event for the users in that area.
And that's at the biathlon?
That's at the biathlon, yep. There's going to be skis, snowshoes. They're actually having their electronic. The firing range is open, but it's only for their electronic guns, not for live fire. and then a whole bunch of other kid focused, family friendly things going on up there. And then kind of to touch base on the dogs on trails. So Michael Brown and I have discussed the potential of maybe introducing this into the single track trail corridor versus on the ski corridors as a trial. And I'm in support of that. It seems the more time that I'm up there, that dogs are on those trails with snowshoers or the bike riders, not necessarily the skiers. Obviously, some skiers ski with their dogs, but it seems like more the higher likelihood is going to be that snowshoer going to go up there with their dogs. So it makes most sense having those dogs be on that trail. We don't really have any problems with it. I mean, people are already up there using them with their dogs, and we don't really see a whole lot of problems with that. So it might be, with considerations of how that verbiage is going to change, that might be the area to do the test phase on it to see if that's going to actually work. Other than that, that's kind of concludes the winter stuff that we have going on. Does anyone have any questions on our winter efforts?
I think the only thing I got to comment on that, Austin, is with the rules and regs, it says that dogs have to be on leash,
Yes.
and that usually is not the case.
I know, right?
So I don't know if we need to change that verbiage or how that's going to take place, that the SO can be informed or whatever, so.
Yeah, absolutely. And, our part's going to be the education side of it, getting those signs up and the education part of it. And hopefully people follow the rules. If not, they will have the repercussions of possible fines and stuff like that. And they need to understand that. But it needs to be signed up there, obviously, which, with the signage and everything, it's being addressed as this whole area is becoming we're going to be getting a brand new area with with kind of the segue into the summer trails. So we are working with Michael Brown on the development of that Kalen Master Plan trail systems. That brings me to one of the comments tonight was made on Fat Fish is not going to be holding events up there, which is absolutely true. We as CWTA will be managing the volunteer efforts up there for this build season. And in the future, in fact, with our MOU, we'll be managing that side of that, and we'll be directing those volunteer efforts on where the volunteers are going to be best used on the trail construction and stuff like that, so we can mitigate the issues with the contractors or the road construction and stuff like that, and we'll be communicating that. And I'll be updating you guys as much as I possibly can as the summer goes. It may be maybe an email I get you guys if we're too busy and I can't get down here in time for the meetings, but we'll be keeping that communication going on exactly what's going on. We are going to have a pretty big social media campaign going on as well, so there'll be videos and a lot of pictures and stuff like that on what we're going to be doing, because we're really wanting to get this moving and really create an amazing environment up there for a lot of the people. In the event that we are not able to do work on the trails, i.e. the roads are closed, I've also talked with Michael Brown about some potential work that our organization can do on the bridle trail. Some work that the Wyoming Conservation Corps was not able to get to last year. And continue the work that Wyoming Conservation Corps did last year. So in the event that we cannot get up there, we can maybe refocus our efforts down at the base of the mountain and be able to work on those projects as well as it sees fit, which you'll notice in our strategic plan is going to be noted in there as far as our tree mitigation, erosion control, trail construction, and so forth. So that's kind of the updates that I have right now. Does anyone have any questions for me?
Would it be possible, and Michael, would it be okay if Austin would, on his emails, would email us so we know what's going on beside just yourself, Michael?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Absolutely.
That would just keep us all in the same light versus what's going on here.
Yep, absolutely. And I was actually planning on getting everybody just getting an email chain going basically with everybody, since we're evolving into this partnership, and obviously communication is key on this. So, because this is kind of an area we've never really gone into with the the current Parks Board, the current BOCC, and the current Parks Director. So we're really excited to be able to work with you guys.
And just to inform the rest of the board, Austin, you and I have been working on signage that we can agree on with the Parks Board and with CWTA. We're still coming up with signs that, community involvement and whatnot. And when we get to the final part, we'll bring it back to the board and say, what do you think? But there is ongoing, communication on that. CWTA is in the process of drawing up a grant to the rec board. And so we looked at it, Doug and I looked at it ourselves, at possibly doing that, but when you came forth and said you're further along than we were, you and I had a conversation of saying, why don't you go ahead with it, and then we'll help input stuff that we know that can help you on that grant. So
Absolutely.
that's just notification of what's going on that part.
Yeah, which I actually have that draft with me tonight. So if anyone afterwards would like to view that, because I think I'm going to be speaking with Jim Miller on that later on as far as advice on any verbiage and stuff like that on that particular application.
And Mr. Jim, I want to ask you, so we're pursuing grants to fund a lot of these signs, but does the county need to be looking at funding to for any grant match requirements or anything like that, or?
Well, I think that's what we have to look at. After we have our discussion, I'll come to you, Michael, and just say, this is what it looks like the county is going to have to match or help with or whatever. It's just not going to be me signing off saying, okay.
Right, and then with grants, for example, like Hell's Half Acre, we've got a group working on those, and Visit Casper is like I guess you call them a grant manager on that. So they're, gonna do the reporting and all of that. With these grants, does that need to fall on parks to manage those grants, or is CWTA gonna be a grant manager with these types of grants?
So
For the
the way I'm
reporting
looking at it
and
right
all
now is CWTA would be the grant manager on this particular one because it falls within our program and our personal general operating, our community general operating expenses that are involved with the plan that we are wanting to provide to the community. Just for full transparency, we have a commitment from the McMurray Foundation on a grant from them this year as well. It's a little bit lower than what they were hoping to be able to do just due to their investment in the Wyoming Sports Ranch, but they have committed to that. And then we have also, I'll be submitting either late this evening or early tomorrow morning, the Wyoming Community Foundations grant, which I talked to those folks today. They reviewed what we have going on. They're super excited to see that across their desk as well. So we do have multiple grants that we are pursuing right now, and with fairly positive outlooks. Obviously, to be able to provide the community service that we are proposing in our our strategic plan as well as our business plan, funding obviously has to be there for that to be able to happen in a more timely manner. But we are heavily relying on volunteers still to be able to add to our labor group to be able to get a lot of this stuff done.
And Austin, I'm sure you're aware, but a lot of grants, you can use the in-kind man hours for the match.
Absolutely, and that's actually what I was going to talk to Mr. Miller about tonight, as far as if we want to up the request, because we do have a lot of in-kind that can match to something. So, but yes.
Question. Austin, on your front cover page here, you've got the Squaw Creek loop right here. Is that all on that school section, or is that on any of the county?
So that's actually just was a generic. That's actually part of our strategic master plan. So I just actually changed the name on that. I should have probably taken that one off. There is actually, it's a county access road to that state section is all that is. So
Okay.
Trail system is on.
Exclusive.
yeah, it's on the state school section 36.
Yeah,
Yep,
okay.
out there. Yep. So I apologize for any confusion on that.
no
That was merely a picture. So
Any other board questions or comments for Austin? Austin, I'd like to thank you. I've been following on social media. I really like the CWTA's newsletter format you've been posting. Those
Great.
are really great and informative. And you guys have been, as usual, been doing a phenomenal job through the winter, grooming the single track trails for snowshoers and keeping everybody informed, and the sign project. Kudos to you and your team. It's been great.
thank you so much. So all right.
Thank you. Any other board general comments?
Sure. So it seems that there's been a lot of talk on the proposed, the Senate File 44 and the mining on that state section. And is there any implication on the county on that being a state section? And I know it's kind of in the hands of the commissioners and the State Land Investment Board, I understand. Where, does that have any impact on the county?
For simplicity's sake, I'll answer that in a direct manner.
Okay.
Maybe. No, right now, to the best of my knowledge, there has not even been a application submitted for that. So it's all in a preliminary stages. If there is an application submitted, it will go before the State Land Board for approval, but it also has to go through both the air quality and water quality for the DEQ. Both those have to be approved and the permit granted before it comes to the county.
Okay.
My understanding right now is that if that is the case, then a conditional use permit would have to be requested. Yeah. As far as Senate File 44 goes, it has absolutely no effect on this at all. If the governor signs it, it won't even go into place until July 1st. Most of the stuff that's in Senate File 44 was already there. It was already in place in one way or another. The only thing that they changed on there is that the definition of minerals, and they put scoria, gravel, sand, and different things in there in that listing so that would be covered. A lot of the initial things that were originally in Senate File 44 were stripped out before it ever made it out of committee, as far as that going, before it ever got over to the House. Okay. The original stuff stripped out all county approvals. That's the stuff that got stripped out. So that wasn't even in the file when it went over to be approved, so into the House. So most of that stuff, it's already in place one way or another. A lot of the counties, it says now that if you have, if there is an approval of a limited mining operation, and all Senate File 44 covers is limited mining operation. It doesn't cover small mining operations. It doesn't cover large mining operations. It only covers limited operations, which are less than 15 acres and a short duration. So there's a lot of things in there that really will not affect how the county reacts. I can't answer some of the questions because some of them are going to have to come out of our legal department as far as what we can do and what we can't do. Okay. But as far as the rest of that stuff, that's where we're sitting right now, is that there has not been an application submitted, to the best of my knowledge. And when that does, it'll have to go through the DEQ and the State Land Board before they can even bring it to the county to request a conditional use permit. So at this point in time, we've gotten, I don't know how many emails I've had. I quit counting. It was substantial. But at this point in time, when we say that we really don't have anything we can work off of, we really don't. There is nothing it hasn't gone through the process yet. And so it's kind of like planning your hunting trip before you get drawn for a tag.
Right.
Only right now, it's even before you apply for a tag. So that's the simplest way I can put it. Right now, there's just a lot of unknowns that we just don't know about. As far as I know, the data has not even been completely analyzed as far as what was collected during the exploration So that was the last I heard. So until all that's done and they find out, they decide whether it's economically feasible or anything else, we really don't know. And there is a big difference between an exploration permit and an operational permit. That's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. Just because you had an explorational permit, all that allowed you to do is go and take samples to see if there's anything there. That does not allow you to go in and actually do the full operation. So hope that answers your
Yeah.
question. It's kind of a roundabout way of doing it, but
Yeah, it's just, it's been such a heavy topic
yeah.
on social media.
And yeah, and Senate File 44 has not been signed by the governor yet. It's still sitting on his desk. And we have to also remember that any bill that he has, he can also do a line item veto on. So if there's stuff in there that he doesn't like, for whatever reason, whether the state land board persuades him that they don't like portions of it, or if he thinks that there's an economic damage for one reason or another, or if he just thinks there's a legal issue associated with it, he can line item veto any portion of those, and without vetoing the entire thing. And the other thing too is that he had 55 bills come out a week ago tomorrow, and he's got until next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, to go through every one of those and either sign them, veto them, or let them go into law without the signature. So those are the three options. And, you know, when you have that many of them, and they're saying that just the budget bills alone are going to take him 3 days to go through to find out just exactly what it's going to cost, because they're extensive. I mean, when you start talking that kind of money in those kind of programs, it's a very extensive process. So he's going to be busy.
Any other board comments or questions?
Well, thank you, Michael, for doing all that work on the changes in park fees and whatnot. And Austin, thank you for coming down and giving us some more information on CWTA. So thank you for what you're doing, and that's all I have.
Cordell or Crystal? No. I'd just like to pass on a little information to the board where Michael and I had a meeting with the Rotary Club members and some other concerned parties for some of their plans for some projects at Rotary Park that are still in the infantile developmental stage, but there's a lot of great sounding projects, such as putting some informational, educational trail signage together about the geology of Rotary Park, and maybe some nature trail steps teaching about the flora of the park. Michael suggested they develop a master plan with short, medium, and long-term goals, just so that we can have some historical knowledge to carry throughout various iterations of this board and other county entities, and they were very receptive to that. Seems like they've got a good group of people that are interested in doing some work there at Rotary Park, and it's looking very positive, and really glad to see the Rotary Club's drive and direction in this, and the group that they've got put together. And we'll keep you posted as more things develop, but right now it's still in a lot of planning phases, with the principal push being in the short term towards developing these geology and nature trail signage, and that's looking really good. And when it's more developed, I'm sure we'll have it brought to the board for wider public dissemination. Anyone else have any questions, comments? Okay, then I'll entertain motions to close the meeting out. Do I have a second?
Second.